All right, last story. This one, I didn't know if I wanted to cover it because it's so weird. And I talked about it a couple of days ago where we're like, oh, man. But there's a little bit more information that emerged, and so I figured it was worth talking about. There was an Amazon Alexa that went rogue and said some violent stuff to a particular person who was emotionally affected by it. She was asking for some information from Alexa on heart function, wanted some details on heart function, and it gave the details on heart function, and then it went into this dialogue about your heart being bad for the planet because that lets you live and you're destroying the planet and you should probably just end it. And it's like, what? Whoa, okay. So you get the headline and you think that's scandalous. Well, because it's Amazon, it's Alexa, and now Alexa's telling people to harm themselves. What's going on, right?
Yep.
But it's really not anywhere near as exciting as the headline, because Alexa's pulling on this pool of data. It's referencing things like Wikipedia and so on. And people can mess around. People can dive in there, change descriptions. An individual who wants to cause a ruckus will always be able to cause a ruckus no matter where it happens to be, in the street, on the internet, or inside your Alexa speaker. And it's not the first story we've seen that follows this line. The person gets into, in this case, it was a little more widespread because it does appear that probably someone altered a Wikipedia entry temporarily, and Alexa was referencing that. But it does, I think, going forward, it kind of indicates how, as the users of this technology, we're going to have to sort of be trained in advance to understand that these are just pulling on pools of data that can be manipulated. You're going to have to be really aware of the fact that you just can't believe everything you hear in the modern era.
Yeah.
Pulling on this data. For example, I was reading a little more about this, and Alexa and other assistants, actually, depending on the individual that it's registered to, the age and so on. Some parents like to set their kids up with this stuff. It will have different answers depending on the individual asking the question.
Oh.
So it can kind of neuter certain answers if they're a little unsavory. But just in general, we had to have this awareness of, just because it came from there doesn't mean it's an official line from Amazon. It doesn't mean it's gone rogue. It doesn't mean you should listen to it. You could still go double check, see what the world is saying, and you could ask some questions. You could be skeptical in general when it's spitting that thing out. Now, in a woman's case who was affected by it, I can't speak to her own emotional distress because she claimed it hit her at a bad time and she suffers depression and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I could see that as being a jarring experience. But you could also have a laugh about it and say someone's having some fun. You could also say that.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with the interpretation. You could say, oh, man, if I'm sitting there with the kids and Alexa starts spouting like that, I'm going to make some humor on it. I'm going to say, oh, you see, technology is not 100% right there.
Right.
Not 100% right there. People could still get in and mess around with it. So it's better to maintain the skeptical mindset, run the critique on it, as opposed to just hope and assume that you're always going to be getting the best stuff out of it. So yeah, it's a sensational story, as it would be, as it should be. It's a hot headline, right? You can't hate on the hot headline. That's what you do. That's how you make it. But you dive a little deeper, and hopefully you get the right. Going forward, man, it's going to have to be some education on these various topics, how to navigate these types of landscapes.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to just take math and English, geography. Nah, man, there's going to have to be some social media studies, how to look, how to read, how to see.